Good morning, good afternoon.
Students.
We are working on 2.4, day 1. So this is my day 1. If you were absent on Wednesday, you should be watching this. And then on Thursday, you should be watching it. And then on Thursday, you would do 2.4, day 2. So after this video, you'll watch day 2. First, our I can statement is I can solve equations with variables on both sides. We're stepping it up. We're taking another step. We have variables now on both sides of our equations. And then we can also write equations needed to solve word problems. Word problems are always going to be there. First, we have to define a few things. Term. A term, it's the parts of an expression or equation that are being added together or combined. So here we have 5 minus 2x minus 3 plus x. We have all those different terms. I put boxes around all the different terms. Now, like terms have to have the same letter raised to the same power. So terms that have the same variable parts or the same letter. Constants are like terms. So if I have a 5 and a 6, those are like terms. I can combine them together. I know that in the notes there are a little light, so you can't see much of them. So I would pause this and make sure you're filling out all of it. Yep. Okay, so when we are solving equations with variables on both sides, what are you watching? Then I would get off your iPad. You have both sides of your equal sign. You have a few rules or steps that you need to follow. So we have to first combine any like terms that are on the same side of the equal sign. It's really easy when we know first what are like terms and then to combine them. And step by step on what to do is right here. Okay? Then we're going to add or subtract the smaller variable term to get the variables on the same side. We want to do the smaller one so that our variable term is positive. I'll tell you that right now. Then you want to add or subtract the constant, and then multiply or divide to isolate the variable, and then you want to write your answer as variable equals. Okay, so we have some examples to go through, so I'm going to start there. So now, biggest thing, look at what are the different parts of my equation. I have an 8. That's going to be a constant. It doesn't have a variable next to it, so it's a constant. I have 4D. The 4 is the coefficient, and it's the number that is being multiplied by the variable. My variable is the letter or the D. I have an equal sign. I have to remember that on whatever I do to one side, I do to the other. And then I have that 5D on the other side. So now, if you notice, we have variables on both sides of our equal signs. So we have to get all of our variables on only one side. So this one is going to be a little more simple because the smaller one is the 4, right? And we want to get that off of that side so that I only have a variable on the other side. So how do I undo or get rid of that 4D? I need to subtract the 4D. So I'm going to subtract it from both sides. So 4D, whenever I'm adding and subtracting of those like terms or variables, I'm actually going to add or subtract their coefficients. So 4 minus 4 is what? 4 minus 4 is 0. 0D, anything times 0 is 0, right? So it doesn't matter what D is equal to, it's 0. So it actually cancels out. I have that 8 left over here, but now here, 5D minus 4D is 1D. I'm going to subtract the 5, or take 5 and subtract the 4. So I have 1D left. Do I have to put the 1 before? No. Okay, so do I have D by itself, or 1D? Yes. That's my answer. So I will want to write it as the d first, so d equals 8. Do you see how I can either write it this way or this way, but I would want to write the d first?
So is it like 8D minus like 4D? Would it be like 4D or would it just be the D? What would it be equal to?
If I had 8 minus 4d right here,
No, 5 to 5D.
Right here.
Instead of 5 it would be 8 instead of 4 it would be, yeah.
so 8d minus,
4D.
yes. So we're gonna get to that kind of problem here. Yep. So she had asked if we have a coefficient, coefficient on our variable, like we would have had like a 4D, then yeah, that's going to be kind of this problem. So on our next problem, we're going to do the same thing, where we're going to get all of our variables on the same side. So we're going to look for our smaller one, again, because I want the 5a and the 8a, which one's smaller? Because I want my variable term to be positive. So I'm going to subtract 5a from both sides because I want to get rid of a positive 5a, so I subtract 5a. It cancels out. What's left on the left side then? Nothing. 0. This is a common mistake where kids will be like, oh, 5 minus 5, that just leaves the a left. No, it's 0a, which is just 0. 8a minus 5a, I have 8 apples and I take away 5 apples. I have 3 apples left. So 3a plus 21. Now, I have all my variables and my constants on the right side. I need to get rid of my constants now on this right side. So I need to subtract that 21 because 21 minus 21 is 0. If I do that to one side, I have to do it to the other. So this will cancel out, and I like to exit out when I'm canceling them out. What's left on the right side of my equal sign? Just that 3a. And here 0 minus 21 is just a negative 21, right? So now this time I have a coefficient on my variable. I have 3. So 3a. Remember your algebra tiles, you had 3 of them, you had to split them into 3 groups. When you're splitting them into 3 groups, what are you really doing? Dividing. So you're going to divide this side into 3 groups, but then you have to divide this side into 3 groups. This is where we have to remember if I have a positive and a negative and I'm dividing them, your answer will be negative. And this cancels out or becomes 1a or just a. So negative 7 equals a. I would like you to write it a equals a negative 7. Okay. So we're just going to do this left side, and then tomorrow we'll do day 2 on this side over here.
Wait.
So I have now a variable term, a constant, equals a variable term and a constant. So we need to do a multi-step. There's going to be more than one step. So I'm going to look for my smaller variable term, 6n or 4n. Which one's smaller? 4n. So I'm going to subtract that 4n from both sides. So again, I can only subtract here because they're the like terms. So 6 minus 4 is 2n. I have to remember to write that minus 1. This will go away. What is left on the right side? Negative 5. We have to remember that this sign in front of it has to come with it. Common error. So be careful with that. Now, I have 2n minus 1. I want to get rid of that minus 1, so I have to do the inverse of that, which is add 1. So I have to add 1 to both sides. Again, use a calculator to double check your math. I'm not grading on if you know how to add and subtract negative and positive numbers. I want to know that you know how to solve an equation. And you don't let not using a calculator make simple mistakes. Dylan. Okay. So here, that goes away. 2n equals, I have a negative 5 and I add 1 to it, so I get negative 4. I'm going to divide both sides by my coefficient, or the 2, to get, these will cancel out and become 1. So 1n equals, again, use a calculator, negative divided by positive is a negative, 4 divided by 2 is 2. Okay, our next one, I'm going to look for my smaller variable. I'm actually going to do this problem 2 different ways because I want you to be, and when you are doing homework in this thing and with this work, you're going to notice that you're going to have positive and negative numbers, and sometimes it's nicer to add 23 plus 7, right? 23 plus 7 is probably a little easier to do in your head, correct? All right, so I'm going to do that, plus 7 on both sides. So here, if you look, 23 plus 7 is 30. Do you remember yesterday, there's a few people I talked to that I said a shortcut way of doing the algebra tiles, if you move it across your equal sign, it's going to be negative. Remember that? Well, this is not the way we would have started it normally. We would have started it with, I just want you to see that over here, this is 30, right? So I'm gonna go back, erase that, and I'm gonna look for my smaller variable term. Which one's smaller? 3x. So I'm gonna subtract my 3x from both sides because it's my smaller variable. And even if it's as a minus, I have to look at what's in front of this term, right? So subtract that 3x from both sides.
Wait, when did you cross it off on that side?
Yep. And then I have a negative 7 over here equals, I have 5x plus 23. And then I would subtract what on the right side? That 23. Now this is where I'm saying negative 7 minus 23 might be a little more difficult to do in your head because we have that minus and that negative. Well, this is actually a negative 30 equals 5x. Now, when I had that 30 before and it was on this side, what was it? It was at positive 30. Do you see that? And if we're here, now it's a negative 30. See that? It's just a way to maybe check it and know that you can move terms back and forth across your equal sign in a sense, but if on one side it's a positive, on the other side it'll be a negative. Okay?
So that's just
Nope, not yet. I still have to divide both sides by 5. So x equals a negative 6. Okay, I'm going to do the last 3 problems on the next video. So I'm going to stop this video. This is part